Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today on Masechtas Rosh Hashana Daf Chaf Hey, we are going to begin on the very bottom of Chaf Dalad Amud Beis by the Mishnah Masa. So we begin with a story. Shabosh Naim, two people came, Amru, and they said the following statement: Re'inuhu Shachris b'Mizrach, that we saw the moon, and in the morning it was on the east. Ba'arvis b'Marav, and in the west it was in the night it was in the west. So Amar Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, Eidir Shekerheim, they're definitely false witnesses. As we see in Rashi, the Kaimalon, we said previously in Daf Chaf, that Esrim ba'arba shoy mechasit sahara, that there's a 24-hour span of time that between the old moon and the new moon you just can't see it, and therefore there's no way they could possibly have seen this. Shabo liyavne kiblu Rabbi Gamliel. However, with Yavne, Rabbi Gamliel did accept their edus. But furthermore, Bosh Naim Yomer, two people said Reinuhu Bismanai, that they saw the moon in its time, and therefore Rosh Chodesh is the 30th day. So Ubaleil Iburo, however, the following night, Lonira, it wasn't able to be seen. Because Rabbi Gamliel, for some reason, Rabbi Gamliel accepted this edus. So Rabbi Daisa ben Horkanus, Edi Shekerheim. Again, they must be lying, and we have the famous expression, Heich me'idim al isha shialda. How can you give testimony the woman gave birth, and umacha kareisa bein chineha? Literally, her stomach is between her teeth. So obviously, one is not possible, and therefore, so too, it's not possible that if in fact you did see it, how could it be that we didn't see it? Amar lo Rabbi Yeshua roya nias tevarachai. In fact, hear your words. And therefore, Rashi says l'abras chodesh, and therefore we should make it an Ibur month. We should make it that it's a 30-day month, and the 31st day will be Rosh Chodesh. Shalach Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel sent the following message, and goes, Rani Lecha, I'm decreeing upon you, Rabbi Yeshua, because you're making the statement that this is the proper day of Rosh Chodesh Tishrei. So he said, "Shetabu etzli b'makocha u'b'moitecha b'yom kippurim shechol yos b'cheshboincha." I'm not going to change. Rather, I feel that I was correct, and therefore, in order to show the whole world that I'm correct and that you're wrong, I want you to come to me with a staff, your money belt, on the day in which you consider to be Yom Kippur, which obviously you can imagine that's very difficult for Rabbi Yeshua to do. But what happened? Hal chamatz Rabbi Kiva meitzek. So Rabbi Kiva saw him, and he was distressed. Armelo said, Yeshli lilmei shekoma sheyas Rabbi Gamliel also. Should know that whatever Rabbi Gamliel did was correct, he's fine. Shnever, the pasuk says, El moadi Hashem ikur kodesh tikro sam, which means bein bizman and bein shalom bizman, whether it's in its a proper time or not. It's us that makes the moadim. It's mekadesh Yisrael. Ainli moadis el elu. It's only these, and therefore he understood that this is what has to be done. Bo Eitzel Reb Daisa ben Horkanus, Amrlo said, Imboin on the Laton Achar Beis Din Shavah Gamliel. This is a tremendous Gemara. That if we would in fact start questioning this Beis Din, Srichan on the Laton Achar Kol Beis Din U Beis Din She'am and Mios Moshe V'Ad Achshav, then we could start looking at every single Beis Din. And we have no right to do that. Once we have an established Beis Din that are considered to be kosher Yidden, and they're established as mumchen, so therefore we cannot start questioning their motives or what exactly their psak was. Shnemer, V'al Moshe v'Aaron nadav avihu b'shivim ziknei Yisrael. So it talks about all these people specifically, and it talks about the 70 elders. So the correct the Mishnah, v'lomu nisparshu shemoisim shel zakenim. Why don't we mention their names, which is question 3 over here? Madul nisparshu shemoisim shel shivim hazakenim. So the Mishnah says, Lamid, why don't we say their names? Is to tell you on purpose that way. Shekol shloisha shloisha she'amdu, based in Al Yisrael, harihu based in Shel Moshe. That's considered to be just like the status of these people. Therefore, we don't want to mention their names. We're saying that anyone could fall into that category, and therefore, nato makom ma'isa biyada. He took his money belt, he took his money, his stick. V'holach liyav neitz Rabbi Gamliel. And he went mamish in front of Rabbi Gamliel as he was instructed. And this is the greatness of Rabbi Gamliel. Most people feel Rabbi Gamliel doesn't get a good name, like Gemara Bechoros, Gemara Brachos, how he was removed. Amar Rabbi Gamliel, he stood up, Benashka Rosh, he kissed Rabbi Yeshua on his head. And he said an unbelievable sentence. Amar Lo Boy B'Shalom, Rebbe V'Talmidi. Rebbe b'chachma, you're actually more wise than I am. I admit to that. However, b'talmidi shekibalta es devarai, that you accepted my words, and therefore you acted as a student. Tanya Omer Rabbi Gamliel Chachamim. Kach mechublanu mibeis avi abba. This is what I accepted as tradition. Pa'amim sheba ba'arucha. There's sometimes that the moon takes a long route. Pa'amim sheba b'katsara, and sometimes it goes a shorter route. And therefore, it's not necessarily a proof. If it's within 24 hours, it is possible they could have been seen. Rabbi Yochanan, my time, debei Rabbi dechsev ase yoreach u'moadim. When the moon happens in its times, shemesh yadam mavoi, the sun knows its comings. Shemeshu di yadam mavoi, yorech lo yadam mavoi. So it means that what the sun knows it's coming, and not the moon. So Rabbi Chia chazi l'sihara. So Rabbi Chia saw the old moon. The Havikoi B'Safra was standing in the morning. The Esrim V'Tisha on the 29th. Shakul Kala, he picked up a clod of earth. Pasuk man, he threw at it. Amr l'orta b'inan l'kedushi bach. He said, we need to sanctify you. Yat kaimas ha'achin, you're standing here. Zil chase, go and hide yourself. Says Rashi, l'orta b'inan l'kedusha sayach srichan anu lasos halayla yom tov Rosh Hashana. We need to make tonight Rosh Hashana l'chaser el, and to make it a chaser el. Skipping a couple lines of Rashi, l'pisha haya ibor hachodesh daiches yom kippurim eitel Shabbos. So Amalei Rabbi Chia zil l'ein tav v'kadshil yarcha. He says you should go with a good eye, and you should sanctify the month on day 30. The shalach li simana, and he sent me the following siman, David Melch Yishal Chavakayam, which is interesting that this is mentioned over here. Obviously, there is some connection as to why we say that phrase. We're going to see that in Rashi in a second. It says Rashi before the David Melech, Zil be'ein tab mekachi daig haya. He was afraid shul yorananu alav b'nei iran. He was not to quarrel with other people, by sanctifying on the morrow. Kol yom chavtes, because it was seen in its old moon the entire 29th. And he says it's okay, you can still be Makadosh. David Melch Israel, Nimshal Kilavana. So David is comparable to a moon. Shnemer Bo, Kiso Kashemesh, Negdi Kiareach Yichin Oilam. So David, in certain ways, as perhaps you can study his life, his ups and downs, his waxing and waning of David, so we see this connection between David and the moon. Fine. Tanuban. Pamachas niskashu shemayim ba'aviv. There was one time that the clouds, it was very thick in the sky. Obviously, you couldn't see the moon, you couldn't see the sun. B'nirs dumus levana be'esem etishal chaydish, and the moon was seen on the 29th day of the month. Gisrun ha'amloy mer Rosh Chaydish. So everyone thought, okay, Rosh Chaydish. So Big Shabbat in Lakadshay. The basin actually wanted to sanctify. There's not enough time for it to have been seen, because there has to be 29.5 days, Shnei Shlish Shah, and also 2/3 of an hour, the Ayin Gimel Chalakim, and 73 Chalakim. And therefore, because of that, we're not there yet. So therefore, it's not Rosh Chodesh yet. Shel Ben Zaza, the speed of Rabbi Gamliel, the Hesped Gadol, so Rabbi Gamliel volunteered to be the one who gave the Hesped, the eulogy, and we know that you're not supposed to give a Hesped on a Yom Tiv or on Rosh Chodesh. So the fact that he did it, it was a way of testifying that today is not Rosh Chodesh. Rabbi Kiva Matzu Meitzer. So Rabbi Kiva saw Rabbi Yeshua was in stress, he was distressed. Iboilhu. Mi Meitzer, Rabbi Kiva Meitzer or Rabbi Yeshua Meitzer? Who was it? So Tashma Asanya, Rabbi Kiva Matzu Rabbi Yeshua Kishu Meitzer. He was the one who was distressed. Rabbi Yeshua was. Amalo Rabbi Nimata Meitzer, why are you so upset? Amalo Rabbi Kiva. Ru'ilo Shiyipol Lamati Yudbeis Chaydish. It's better for me, Rabbi Yeshua, to fall 12 months, and not to accept upon myself this decree. This is a terrible thing that's being said against me, that I have to do such a thing. So I'm a Rabbi, Tarsheni, do you give me permission to speak? Shalimanatani, Amulo, Emor. Go ahead, Rabbi Kiva, please speak. I mean, I don't understand what to do. So Amulo, Harihu Omer, Atem. It says right, Atem Gimel Pam 3 times. Atem afil Shaygim, Atem afil Mazidin, Atem afil Mutayin. B'lashon Zeh Amulo Akiva, Nichamtani. Many times we find that Rabbi Kiva is always sensitive to other people's feelings, and very often we find that Rabbi Kiva, you have consoled me, you have comforted me. So therefore, even if it was made mistakenly, nonetheless it's okay, because that's the din, and that's the psak, so I'm able to follow in that direction. Bola Eitzel Rabbi Dais ben Horkinus, and he told him this drush about the Zakanim, told him about Lamun is Parshu Shemaisim Shel Zakanim Halalu, which is exactly what our Mishnah says. Ask the question. Shal Yomer Adam Pliny Kamaishi Arin Pliny Kanad Abaviu Pliny Keeldad Meidad. You maybe think, no, these people have to be on the status of these great people. No, any person who's a basin is acceptable. The Omer, furthermore, the pasuk says in Shmuel, Yomer Shmuel El Ha'am. So Shmuel said to the nation, Hashem Asher also asked Moshe Ves Aaron. So he's comparing that just like Moshe and Aaron were leaders, so too you have to accept the leadership here too. The Omer, furthermore, it says also in Shmuel, V'yishlach Hashem es Yerubal, Ves Bedan, Ves Yiftach, Ves Shmuel. So who are all these different people that we've learned about in different Sfarim before? So Yerubal Ze Gidoin. This is referring to Gidoin, who was in among the Shoiftim. V'om Nikra Shmo Yerubal. So why was he given this other name? Shi'asa Mariva Im Habal. Because he quarreled and fought against the idol at the time, which was the famous idol of Baal. Bedan. What is that referring to? Is that Shimshon. One of the names of Shimshon was Don. V'om Nikra Shmo Bedan. Yasim Bedan, because that's where he came from. Yiftach. Who's Yiftach Hagilani? Kamashma'o. Just as we know him, that's who it was. The famous Yiftach also in Sefer Shmuel. So we continue to Chavavam and Beis. V'Omer in the pasuk says, Moshe ve'Aaron b'Kohanim v'Shmuel b'Kari Shemai. What do we learn out from there? Shakal Kosev Shloisha Kali Oilam Kishloishi Chamori Oilam. That he compares these 3 people. Rashi says, third line, Kosev Yerubal Bedan v'Yiftach im Moshe ve'Aaron v'Shmuel Shloisha Kalim im Shloisha Chamurim. Not that these people were Kal by any light, but nonetheless compared to Moshe, Aaron, and Shmuel they were. V'Lomecha Yerubal B'Dairo Kamaisha B'Dairo B'Dairo Bedan B'Dairo Ka'aron B'Dairo Yiftach B'Dairo Kishmuel B'Dairo. V'Madcha again to teach us She'afil Kal Shebekalin. Even let's say who's not so strong and so much knowledge, but nonetheless they're the leaders. And then this Mana Party Saltzibur, they were chosen to be leaders. Arhiu Ka'abir Shibabirim. They're like the greatest of the great, the strongest of the strong. V'Omer, furthermore, V'Asel Kohanim Elavim El Shofin Asher Yebiyam Mahim. So, frankly, Gemara, what do you mean? Go to the one in your day. The Chisal Daitach. They have a havamina to think. How can you go to someone who's not in your day? Obviously, they have to be around. It just means that that's the person you have to go to. And you can't say, forget it. This person's not knowledgeable. You have to go to the Omer. Furthermore, Al Taimer, person should not say, as it says in Koheles, the good old days. We can't say, okay, maybe it's true that it was the good old days. But nonetheless, we have to recognize and show respect for those other individuals. It says Rashi, She Efshashu Achroinim Kirishainim. It's an amazing line, Rashi says. It's impossible that the people in this low generation can be like great Rishainim, but nonetheless, we still have to show respect for them. So the Mishnah concluded that he took his stick, his money, once he saw him, Omad Mikisai, Rabbi Hillel stood up from his chair, V'nashkal Rosh, he kissed him, Rabbi Talmidi. As the Mishnah says, Rabbi Shleimadati Torah Barabim. You're my Rabbi because you teach Torah in public. But Talmidi Shani Goyz Alech Gezerah, I made a decree, V'atam Ekaima, and you fulfilled it, Kitalmid, just like a student. Ashrei Hador, praiseworthy is the generation. Shagadolim Nishmoyim Akatanim, that the great listen to the young. Kavachimer Katanim Agadolim. Kavachimer Chayubahu, you have to. El Mitaych Shagadolim Nishmoyim Akatanim, Noishim Katanim Kavachimer Ba'atzman. Because the Gedolim listen to the Katanim, then the Katanim make a Kavachimer by themselves. So in other words, if we show respect to one, then hopefully other people will also learn from it. Hadnulach im einan makirin, hadnulach im einan makirin, hadnulach im einan makirin. We now will continue with the third parak. The Mishnah says, Ra'uhu based in, let's say the Basin sees the new moon, the Chol Yisrael, as well as Klal Yisrael. Nechru Ha'edim, we examine them. However, he speaks Leimer Mekudesh Ad Shachashecha. Even though it was supposed to be today, it was supposed to be Rosh Chodesh, but they didn't have the chance to say Mekudesh. Harizem Uber. It ends up becoming a mole, and therefore the next day is Rosh Chodesh. Ruhu based in Bovad. Let's say only the Basin saw the moon. So Yamdu Shnayim, so two of them should stand up. Idu Bifneim, they can testify. V'yamar Mekudesh Mekudesh. So the people who are part of the Basin, before they convene, they can just take a couple of those people and they could be the Edom. Ru'u Shloish, let's say 3C. Beheim Basin, and they're also a Basin. So Yamdu Hashnayim, so two people should stand up. Yoshivu Mechaverehen, and sit by their friends. Eitza Hayachid. This person can't give the edus himself, so therefore you need to bring two other people to be part of the basin, and therefore you'll be able to, as witnesses, now be able to testify. So, for Gemara, Misna Ra'uhu based in B'chol Yisrael. Why does it have to say it in this language? So Itzrach, Hoyel, since Ra'uhu based in B'chol Yisrael, since everyone saw already the new moon, therefore you would maybe think if Parsim Allah, it's already been publicized. And therefore you cannot extend the month. Kamash Mulan. Ru'uhu based in B'chol Yisrael. So once it mentions that, so Nechur Edom Lamli, so why do you have to talk about that they were already interrogated? Halchikamer. Inami Nechur Edom, will he speak of Lamar Mekudesh, Ashachashecha Harzem Uber. Fact Gemara, Vikivanda Tana. Since we already said, Ashachashecha Harzem Uber, it's considered to be again a extended month. Why do we have to mention about the investigation, speaking to the witnesses? Itzrach. To have a chakiras edim ketchilas din. And mekudesh kigmar din. Maybe you think that chakiras edim is at the beginning of the judgment, and when you say mekudesh, that's kigmar din. That's the end. The kachi belele, and therefore maybe you could continue and complete the court case and mimkadesh at night. Why? When it comes to monetary affairs, that none. Dini mamon is done b'yoyim. You have to do the judgment during the day. However, german b'layla. So since you started it during the day, even if it extends to the night, when it comes to dini mamon, you could do that. So you would think also haganami mekanchin b'layla. Since you began during the day, so that I can actually say mekudesh at night. Kamash one, no. Maybe you actually could do it at night. Who says not? Ki chok yishalhu mishpat elkei Yaakov. Emas havi chok. When is it a chok? The Gemar din, only at the end. The Kakar le Rachman Mishpat, Ma Mishpat B'yom, Abhacha Nami B'yom. The Mishpat has to be done dafka during the day. There is a dispensation when it comes to Dini Mamnas that we allow it. However, when it comes to this, we don't. Ra'uhu based in Yamdu Shnami Idu B'fneim. So Vamai Lotehishmi Gadol Maria. Why don't we say, shouldn't it be that hearing is greater than seeing? So Amram Zera could go in Sheru B'layla. It just means that they saw it at night. Says Rashi, Hilkach l'machar, tomorrow ilav shmiya almash yikachu. Fine. Ra'ub shleish v'hin based in yamdu shnayim yoshiva mechavarehen etzal yachid. Amai hachanam lemo tehe shmiya gadol maria. Lachitem hachanam kihan sherubalayel. Maybe they saw it at night. Hainu hach. So it's the same case. So save it tzrichalei. De'en hayachid neman alidei atzmo. It's telling you that an individual cannot testify by himself, which is the end of what the Mishnah said. The side of that, I mean, you would think, Hayil Tanat, Dini Mamadus B'Shleisha, that when it comes to monetary affairs, you have three people, V'im Hayim Mumcha, well, Rabbin, but let's say one person is an expert, then Donafil B'Yachid, Hachanami Niskadshi B'Yachidi, there, maybe this person individually could do so. Kamash Malad, Abiyam Achinami. Why don't we say, just like Din and Mamadus, it works by one, so too we should be able to say it works also by one, which is question TA 9. He mumchel rabim yochel adon yechidi b'kiddush hachodesh. The answer is no. Ma makar was that. The makar is this. You cannot, because einocha mumchel rabim yisrael yosem Moshe Rabbeinu. There's no greater mumcha, no greater expert than Moshe himself. The Kamal Kodesh Baruch Hu adi ika haron b'hadoch. He also needed Aaron to be with him. You needed two. V'chsev v'yomer Hashem el Moshe v'el Aharon. The fact that Moshe and Aaron are together is coming to teach us this din, that when it comes to dinim of Rosh Chodesh, you needed two. So fact the Gemara, now the Gemara asks a different question. The Eid Nasadayin, is it true that a witness could be a judge, says Rashi? Misha royalios Eid. someone who's fit to be a witness, Badavar, Nasa Dayan, they could be a judge. The Elu, Kulan Royan Leos Adim, all these people, since they all saw the moon, so they are all fit to be witnesses, Shari Kulan Ru'u, since they all saw it. So therefore we see that an aid, because even though everyone saw it, you also need a Dayan. So that means that, an aid who saw, but it didn't testify yet, is now instead able to become a Dayan. The Sanya Sanhedrin Shur Echad Sharkas and Nefesh. Let's say you have a whole Sanhedrin, and they saw a murder. They saw a murder take place. As we continue Chafal V'Mal, Miksasa Nasa Aiden, Miksasa Nasa Dayanim De Reb Tarfon. Reb Tarfon holds, yeah, when it comes to Dini Mamnus, a person is allowed to do this. Aid Nasa Dayan. Rabbi Kiva Oimer Kula Nasa and Aiden, they're all witnesses. The Ain Aid Nasa Dayan. So the Chayra, our Mishnah is not in accordance to the sheet of Rabbi Kiva. No, Filatem Rabbi Kiva. Ad can look at Rabbi Kiva Hasam. The only time Rabbi Kiva was strict and said that no, Aid Nasadayan is Elbadin Nefashos when it comes to cases of capital offense. The Rachman Omer B'Shafta Eid Vatzil Eida. We always are trying to find a way out from having to sentence that person to death, and therefore we're strict, and therefore we say Aid Nasadayan, and therefore it won't work. Kivan dechazuhu dekotol nasha. Once you see someone get killed, how are you going to be able to turn over to the schus, right? If you're an aide and you saw a murder, saying, oh, you'll be the dayan. How can I be the dayan? In my head, I know the person is guilty. So therefore, ein nasa dayan. There's no way you'll be able to save this person if you're a dayan. Maybe when it comes to this, even Rabbi Kiva agrees that aid nasa dayan. So when it comes, let's look at question 4. Question 4. Ad aid haroy lehayed, o aid shkvar hayed, him nasa dayan be'edus achodesh obedin in nefashos. So it's beautifully written, this question, because they don't really talk about that. We're going to stop here. So aid haroy lehayed. So if let's say you're fit to testify, but you didn't yet, so nasa dayan be'edus achodesh. When it comes to din nefashos, it's a machlokas, as we saw. However, if let's say you already testified, so at that point, Eid shehayed ein nasa dayan, vein be'edus hachodesh, vein be'edus nefashos. Adkan.